Hi, I'm Kristen, and today I'll be providing a contact update for the last week of August 2026, and specifically the night of August 24th into the morning of August 25th. So last night I went outside around 9:30 p.m. with my daughter, and we were looking for orbs, and as happens most nights, an orb immediately appeared over our home and started moving towards the other side of our property. So the first one that we saw was kind of like this little light blue, turquoise blue kind of orb, and that kind of faded out. And I would say within 2 or 3 minutes, there was a much brighter white orb that showed up coming from the same direction, going from west to east, except it was like really low altitude. And there were a lot of clouds out last night. And so I was like watching, like, is it going to go underneath the clouds? And like, sure enough, it did. And so I saw as it was moving under the cloud, it like kind of like flared up, got really bright, and then it just completely like went out, like much faster than they usually go out, just completely disappeared. And so while I was talking to my daughter, I said to her, like, did you know that like sometimes they can respond to your thoughts? So like if you're saying like, oh, well, can you move faster? Can you disappear? Or can you change direction? Or just sparkle or something like that? Like they typically will respond to thought. And she said, I know, like that orb that we just saw that like went underneath the cloud, like that one just did that. And I asked her like what happened? That like what were you thinking about? And she said like she thought towards the orb like, oh, you're so pretty, can you sparkle again? And that was like kind of like what that flare up was that we both saw. And so I asked her, was that the first time that you like realized that they can respond to your thoughts? And she said, yeah, I think so. And so she's had a lot of contact starting from the time she was like a very little girl, but that was like kind of like the first night that she had firsthand contact with like an orb and seeing that it responds to her, even when I didn't know she was trying to contact it or talk to it or ask it to do something. So that was kind of fun and it was really cute. And that was pretty much it for like what I was expecting to have happen with contact for the night. And so that happened. And then I put my kids to bed and I had gone to sleep. And around 3 a.m., I was woken up by a text message from a friend. I thought it was spam. It probably wasn't, but it kind of like pulled me out of this nightmare that I was having that was like about a major terrorist attack on New York City. And so I was kind of glad to not be having that dream anymore. But at the same time, like I couldn't fall back asleep in the middle of the night after that had happened. And so I decided like I was going to go downstairs and I was just going to like relieve my bladder, let's say. And so I went downstairs and I was in complete darkness. The only light that was coming through was like moonlight through the windows. And so I have a house that proceeds from like a living room into a dining room, and then like off of the dining room is like where our bathroom is. And so as I got halfway across my living room in the dark, I saw like there was a dark, solid figure just standing in front of the bathroom door that I was trying to walk to. So I saw that this person, the shadow figure, like it looked like a solid person, just kind of like standing there in the dark. They appeared to be, let's say, like 4'10" to 5 feet tall, so not tall at all. And even though I can only see like the outline of this person, it appeared to have like the body of a young woman or like maybe like a preteen girl. And so I could see like there was like straight like long hair and like the hair had come down and like had gone past the shoulders. And so I freaked out. I got really scared and I turned around and I turned on a lamp, and just the light from that one lamp, it was able to kind of like illuminate through my living room, through my dining room, and over to the bathroom. And I saw that pretty much the bathroom door was closed. It's just like this like regular white door. And there was nothing that could have been standing in front of it or positioned in front of it that could have taken on like this kind of appearance of like a shadow person. It's not like the door is partially open. Maybe I was confusing like a towel with a person or something like that. Like no, like the door was closed and it was like just like kind of like a flat surface. I shouldn't have seen anything there. And so um for whatever reason, it didn't really bother me or scare me at that point where I turned on the light and I'm like, oh, it's gone. But it did occur to me, like, once I headed into the bathroom, I'm like, wow, that seemed like a lot like the Hereditary scene where Toni Collette is, like, I believe in her attic or in her room, and she has the light turned off and she sees her, like, deceased mother, and she turns it on and she's gone. It just felt very much like that. It's like this solid figure was standing there, and then the second the light was on, like, this girl was gone. That was a little bit creepy to think about, but I didn't emotionally feel like the fear within me anymore after I turned on the light. And so after I was done using the bathroom, I turned that light off and it was like going back into the darkness essentially, and like again moving through the rooms of my house in moonlight. And I saw that there was um, a a small like tag that had fallen on the floor for my son, and it's like a name tag for back to school time. And So I picked up the tag and I was going to go put it on the table just so I don't have clutter on my floor anymore. And as I bent over, I heard two like loud, like kind of like creaking footsteps that like moved towards me in my dining room, like right next to me within like 4 to 6 inches. Like it, this whoever this being was, this person was, spirit, um, was standing like directly next to me on my right hand side. And at that point, when I heard like these kind of like footsteps right next to me, I got so incredibly afraid that I completely just like ran through my house. I ran through my living room, ran up the stairs, ran into bed. And at that point, I had so much adrenaline kind of coursing through me that I was like, I'm definitely not gonna be able to go to sleep now. And so I was just kind of on my phone. And I was like typing up what had happened. And as I was doing that, I saw that there was like this humongous like shadow blob that kind of appeared, like almost like it had come through my bedroom door, and it like came towards me in the bed, like over here. And as this large blob was moving towards me, it was like morphing, like turning in and around on itself. And so like as it like twisted, it like kind of just like faded out. And so that was a little bit startling, but again, it's like I did not have like the same kind of fear seeing the shadow or the shadow person as I did like hearing the footsteps and hearing somebody like directly step right next to me that I couldn't see. That was just really, really scary. And so I stayed up for probably another few hours after I saw like that large shadow kind of moving towards me in my room, and I was able to get like a couple of hours sleep. And when I woke up, it wasn't too long before I heard what I thought was my daughter waking up and like going downstairs for the day. And so I heard like footsteps like running down the stairs. I heard the stairs creaking, and I heard like what the sound of like my daughter's gait. Like I know how she moves and what she sounds like. Like anybody who lives with kids or lives in a family, like that you could tell about who was coming based on like what the footsteps sound like. So it sounded exactly like my daughter, and I thought she was just heading downstairs to go get breakfast and start her day. And so I didn't think too much of that, and my son was still asleep. My husband was at work, and my mom is like on the complete opposite side of the house, and she uses a cane, and she's like kind of like very wobbly, and it definitely would not have been her that I would have heard. And so just felt like completely normal kind of morning until my son woke up, and I told him like, oh, go play with your sister. Like I heard her go downstairs earlier. She's probably playing something, and you could like play together. And he went downstairs and he said like, ma, like she's not down here. And I was like, what? And so I went into my daughter's bedroom a little bit later. I was going to put something away in there, and I saw like that she was like groggily like sitting up and getting up in bed, and pretty much like me opening the door had like woken her up. And I said like I thought you were downstairs. And she pretty much told me like, no, like you, like I'm just waking up now, like you just woke me up, like I haven't gone anywhere. And so it was like at that point that I was like oh no, like I almost like felt like my energy catching my throat, catching my chest, and just like felt like a lot of anxiousness or anxiety. Just realizing that even at around like 9 o'clock in the morning, I was still hearing, I suppose, like this like kind of poltergeist activity that was occurring. So it went from seeing the shadow figure to hearing whoever the spirit or this being was, to seeing the shadow blob, and now hearing like footsteps like mimicking my daughter when she absolutely did not get out of bed. And again, I was not in a dreaming state. I was not woken up by the footsteps that I heard this morning. I was completely fully awake, lucid, sober, everything, and just like very clearly heard her running down the stairs, but she didn't. So maybe there's a chance that she was having an OB and doesn't remember it, and she actually was running down those stairs and then kind of like gets sucked back to her body. Or again, it was something mimicking her footsteps. So as like kind of like the morning was progressing, I was thinking more and more like who could this be? Who showed up in my house? There's like a few different people that kind of came to mind, but like obviously I can't tell like who actually like the spirit or this non-human intelligence really was. But back around like the 1940s and the 1950s, there was a woman who like lived here just with her husband. She didn't have any kids or anything at that point, but she was pregnant, and I believe that she died in my home from complications from pregnancy. Pretty soon after she passed away, I think within like in under 6 months. Like her husband moved out of my home and moved to like I think the other side of the country. So there's a chance that she could still be kind of like lingering around here. And then there was some kind of like preteen girl that my husband and my daughter have both seen in my house that I have not seen. So my daughter had seen like again like just like this full-bodied apparition of a preteen or a young teen girl with like black hair. She said like kind of peeking around a doorway in our mudroom and like kind of like looking at her. And then there was another time that my husband was coming out of the bathroom where I saw this shadow figure last night, and he said that he thought I was just standing outside of the door, but when he kind of like looked up and looked at the whole body, he said it was again like a preteen or a young teen girl, and she had like just like this big smile on her face, and her eyes were like kind of bugging out, like she was getting like ready to take like a class photo or something. And he said what was really strange is that like outside of that bathroom door, we have like this a couple tiny little bookcases that hold like a bunch of craft supplies. And he said that where this preteen apparition was kind of standing, it was like from her torso down, like her body was like in the little bookcase full of like paints. And so like obviously like a regular person with like a solid person couldn't be standing in the exact spot where that was located. She wasn't in front of it, she was like in it, like her body was filled with the bookcase and all the supplies. And so it went through my mind like, well, maybe it was her, especially because the shadow figure that I saw was very slim, very small, and short. So I'm a pretty short person to begin with. I'm 5'4", but I could see even from across the room that like whoever this girl or young woman was, like she was shorter than me. And then there was also a consideration that there was a possible spirit that had come from a neighbor property, that maybe she had come over here, hasn't properly passed and crossed over. So last year there were a couple of people who died in a car accident around the bend in my road, and they were quite young, like early or mid-20s. And yeah, the girl that was in that car accident died. She was a passenger, and so maybe she was here. Then also because I have contact with Grays, and that kind of whole incident occurred earlier in the night with my daughter and I seeing this like little blue orb and then this like really bright low white orb. Perhaps what I saw was just outright a screen vision, and that's something I can't discount. I can't write it off. It very well could have been. And so especially seeing a shadow figure that was shorter than me, to my knowledge, I've never seen a short gray. I've only seen tall grays, or the same tall gray appearing in different places. But if a screen vision had occurred, it could have been a short gray at around that height, under 5 feet tall, just appearing to be a girl instead of kind of like showing what it actually looks like. And I don't know if there's any like easy, clear way to tell what it would be outside of the fact that I saw that full solid apparition, and then I saw like that shadow blob. So it kind of like makes you think that like the natural state of whatever I saw can kind of morph and turn into whatever it wants to turn into. So I'm thinking it's a girl, and it could be something completely different. There's just no way for me to tell. Yeah, so that was pretty much like what happened last night and this morning, and just all together, like just collectively, it was just really scary. And I don't typically have like fear responses to contact. So I've had like a huge feeling of terror and fear upon seeing like a gray face to face. But when I hear something in my house, I just go like, and just like kind of shrug it off. Or if I see objects moving, I just kind of look at it, and then it doesn't mean anything to me of any like special importance. I just write it down, move on along with my day. So just the fact of like how close this being came to me, like walking right up to me in the middle of the night when I couldn't really see well, like it was so scary. Yeah, so I'm curious to see if this level of contact continues. I've been having, like, as always, like a lot of contact dreams, just like really kind of bizarre dreams that I feel like are open for interpretation that aren't just normal. But this amount of physical activity within a really short period of time, like within just 12 hours, essentially, this is like pretty abnormal. And Uh, I do wonder if it's kind of like kicking off a new period of lots of activity before typically like the cold weather comes in and the contact slows down a lot. So if you've ever had kind of like contact that's similar to this, or you've had just like a barrage of contact all happening within a short amount of time, and it seems anything like this, like spirits, ghosts, apparitions, like kind of also mixed with like what's going on with like NHI aliens, please let me know, and I will of course let you know in the future if there are like a lot of more weird things happening, and I'll provide an update then. So thank you so much for listening today, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.